welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We're going to be exploring this beautiful sand forest behind me. It's a very rare habitat type. There's only about 6,000 hectares left of sand forest, and we are in part of 1,000 of those hectares that we have here on Phinda Private Game Reserve. So I thought it would be a nice area for us to explore. There's some really interesting and rare things in here, so let's go see what we can find. This termite mound here really caught my eye. You can see how it's encompassed almost the whole base of this big tree here. But the tree is still very much alive. It's just these lower branches, maybe like this one here, that they are busy eating and recycling all those nutrients back into the ground here. And in the sand forest, where nutrients are in very short supply anyway, these termites are so important for the growth of the trees and nutrients for all the plants. Now inside this huge mound, which has literally been built grain by grain by the little worker termites, there's, as I say, all the workers. There's going to be quite a few little soldiers that are protecting all the termites in here. And then there's going to be one queen right in the bottom that's responsible for the reproduction of the termites. I've been so lucky to come across this Narina trogon, one of the really special birds, and as you can see, very colourful birds. And this is a bird that a lot of people are really hoping. Oh, there he flies. Some of the special things in the sand forest are the orchid species that we find here. I'm going to try and show you a couple of them today. The first one we found is this one. It's the only one that grows high up in the trees like this. Just to give you some scale of how high they grow. Look at that. So this is called Cytorchus pretermissa. There's no common name, unfortunately. But you can see this orchid has used this dead tree that it's growing in to get right out into the sunlight and get the best chances of growing. You can see the roots hanging down there as well. So the special things about orchids, or the special thing about orchids, is that they are what we call epiphytes. So they're not parasitic, they're not harming the tree that they are in at all. Those roots that are dangling down there are the ones that are absorbing the moisture from the air and the nutrients from the air as well. So it's not negatively affecting that tree that it's in at all. Right, the second orchid I wanted to show you is a very special one called Mysticydium venosum. You can see unlike the other one we saw just now, where the roots were hanging down, these ones are attached to this branch. And what's special about this one is it's actually flowering at the moment. Look at these beautiful white flowers. There's a tiny little sacs of pollen inside these flowers here, which are actually pollinated by a hawk moth. We've come across a crowned eagle nest high up in this tree, and on the ground below are lots of bones from the animals they've eaten. I've just picked up this skull over here. Have a look at this. See, it's got very sharp little front teeth there and eyes in the front. So this is a little monkey, probably a vervet monkey. We've come across this huge ancient tree that's broken and fallen down here called the Lobombo wattle. It's one of the canopy species that we find growing here in the sand forest. And it's a very old, slow growing tree which makes the wood very hard. So in the past it's been used a lot as firewood and for ornaments. So it's actually become quite a rare tree, and it's protected nowadays. In this big fallen over branch here, there's all sorts of little holes and nooks and crannies, which are all little microenvironments for other organisms that are so important in the sand forest, like insects and snakes, I suppose different spiders. Good burrows for things to hide out in. And then as we come over here, there's some much smaller, but some Lobombo wattles that are still alive. But if you see here, there's some marks over here from animals like elephants that come along with their tusks and scrape off pieces of bark. Another few over here. So just underneath this layer, this top layer of the bark, is what's called the cambium layer, and that's exactly what the elephants are after. That's the part of the tree that's responsible for the nutrients being transported up and down the tree to the leaves and down to the roots. And that's exactly what these elephants are after. This tree in front of us here is another very special one called a torchwood. Now if you have a look at this little seed pod that I found just in front of me, these seed pods normally have a fleshy covering around the outside, which quite a few animals eat. Elephants, baboons are probably the most likely in here anyway. But it's very easily identifiable by that very fluted bark at the base. And as you can see, it's another very tall, towering tree in the sand forest. And then on this lowest branch, just on the right, I wanted to show you something as well. Can you see this hanging down succulent here? This is the only indigenous cactus species that we get here in South Africa. This is called a string cactus. At certain times of the year it gets these small little fruits on the ends of the branches, which is fed on by a very special bird in the area called a nearguard's sunbird, which is endemic to the area we are now, which is the northeastern part of South Africa. And the third orchid I wanted to show you is this one here, which is called Microcelia exilus, or finally it does have a common name called the pinhead orchid. But look at these tiny little flowers, those small little white spots you can see on the end of the branches. Those are the flowers, literally the size of a pinhead. The interesting thing about this one is that it actually has no leaves at all. The other two that we've seen so far have leaves. This one's photosynthesizes through its roots. Have a look at this beautiful kingfisher here. This is called a brown-hooded kingfisher. You would often associate kingfishers with water, but this is actually one of the insectivorous ones. That's why he's here in the middle of the forest where there's absolutely no water anywhere close by. These soft soils that we've been walking in, these soft sandy soils, are very easy for animals to dig down. And if you see this really big hole on my left here, this is dug by an animal called an aardvark. Let me show you quickly. See that animal over there? This is a little nocturnal, or quite a big nocturnal animal that digs these tunnels and eats termites. Very, very special one to see. Have a look at this tree that I'm standing underneath. Can you see there's no leaves below this level here? So this tree has got really good nutritious leaves that a lot of the animals really like to eat, like the nyala we find in here. So everywhere where the nyala can reach is all browsed. There's no leaves left, and they obviously just can't reach this level here. But everything underneath, any little branch that's hanging down, all the leaves have been taken off. This is an extremely special bird called an African broadbill. If it's anyone who has very good knowledge of birds in South Africa, you will know how special this bird is. It's on every birder's bucket list to try and see it. And it's a very special bird that we only find in sand forest. Alright, so I've successfully made it back to the car and navigated my way out of the sand forest. It can get quite confusing at times. But I hope you really enjoyed that walk and seeing some of the special things, or some of the things that make Phinda so special, like the sand forest. And please comment and let us know if you'd like to see some more walks. Maybe I can explore some different areas on this very diverse reserve.